to say, hey, Bill Belichick outcoached his opponent.
Right.
I thought it was a pretty good plan and pretty good responses by both coaches. It's why it was a, 41-33 game.
We've got a very interesting note here on Doug Peterson we're going to put on your screen just to sort of accentuate exactly what he's been able to do here. Winning the Super Bowl as a head coach, a guy that played in the NFL. Peterson joins Gary Kubiak, who, of course, for a long time backed up John Elway. Sean Payton, sure, remember that. And, of course, the great Tom Flores, the first ever to beat Belichick as a coach and a player, a pretty remarkable thing. So from that former Eagles backup to their backup turned starter Foles, from a quarterback perspective, 2-year, $7 million deal to bring Foles back in, very familiar with the system. Howie Roseman, their executive vice president, said that was key. This win, I know you're a backup because it's Wentz's team. This does what for Nick Foles?
Changes his life.
Changes his life.
Totally changes his life. I mean, there are very few people that can stand there and say, I was a starting quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I mean, just plain and simple. It is a life-changing event for Nick Foles. And, if you think about his journey to get here to this point, it's really remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a guy that was ready to walk away from football, and if it wasn't for the opportunity to go back and be reunited with Andy Reid, and also at that point be, united with Doug Peterson, on that Kansas City staff, Nick Foles maybe isn't playing football anymore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think when you look at that, it's just absolutely remarkable. Stories like this, whether it's, Tom Brady being a 6th-round draft pick and winning all the Super Bowls, or whether it's, Kurt Warner and his story of, kind of his climb to the top, or this Nick Foles story, I think, it rivals and it compares theirs. Absolutely does.
No question about it. A fairy tale finish. We're finished here on ESPN. We're going to ESPN2, NFL Primetime, kicking it old school with Chris Berman live on the field in Minnesota. Is next. Join us on ESPN2 for some press conferences.
Of all dynasties, the New England Patriots, the Eagles fly, Eagles fly. And welcome everybody to NFL Primetime here on the floor in Minneapolis. And man, the Rockets red glare. I am with Hall of Famer Steve Young and Hall of Famer Randy Moss.
Boom. That sound good, boom.
And we saw Hall of Fame game, guys. The Philadelphia Eagles played with the moxie of the city that they represent.
Right,
I don't know how better to say
it right now. MVP Nick Foles outdueled Tom Brady and the biggest offensive show in the history of the Super Bowl. And he made the plays and scored the touchdown that turned the game in the last part of the fourth quarter more than anyone else that had done against the Brady era. Who's done that to the Patriots through the years? Nick Foles did it, and he did it in a way that was dramatic. And it was, it's like, to me, Nick Foles is the story. I know there's stories galore, but when you have the biggest offensive output in the history of Super Bowls, and did I read it? History of the playoffs?
Plus, you have more yards in any game of any time.
And it's Nick Foles against Tom Brady, and he outduels him. That's it.
I have to give kudos and shout out to that defense, Coach Swartz, defensive coordinator, and that defense. Yeah, they did put up a record-breaking Super Bowl, but I said this morning on Sunday Countdown how the defensive line had to play 4 quarters of football and beat their one-on-one coverage. At the end of the game, you see Fletcher Cox's double. Guess who came up with the big play? Graham. That was a big play by him. That sealed the deal.
But how about play calling? And we'll show highlights in a moment to get Nick Foles in rhythm right away. Look, the Philadelphia Eagles, #1 seed in the NFC. Underdog all 3 playoff games. Man, if that's not a classic Philadelphia story. They love that role, and they played like the chip on their shoulders was a mile high.
They leaned into this. I think Doug Peterson flipped the script. People talked about with Nick Foles, are we going to protect him? He flipped it and basically said, I'm the play caller, I'm the coach, you protect me. I'm going to open up everything, the whole playbook. I'm going to be as aggressive as I've ever been, and you take care of me. I thought that the idea of what he did in the championship game, and then he did the same thing here.
Yes.
Nick, you go win this for us. And Nick made the big plays. He constantly, the whole game. They brought 5. The pressure came. The offensive line did a superior job holding them back, and he just made play after play after. Clearly, there's a lot of help. But I think in this situation, when Tom Brady's sitting on the other side and he's having the most prolific game in the history of the Super Bowl, and you keep answering, the seeds were sown by Doug Peterson in the championship game, flipping the script and telling Nick Foles, you go be the MVP.
You know, you sit there talking about the head coach Doug Peterson, you know, former quarterback. One thing that I know about quarterbacks, they just want to continue to throw the ball, stay aggressive. But as a head coach with a quarterback background, he has won in this league before. I was very impressed by how he stayed aggressive with his running back play. He threw the touchdown to Clement. He had Clement up the sideline with the pick. So kudos to them, the Philadelphia Eagles, Coach Peterson, with the Super Bowl. Young coach, I like what he's doing in Philly, man.
They had some players like New England. Who was James White? No, Clement, Aguilar. We will go on and on and on. So the storyline here at Super Bowl 52. Early in the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick run, they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Only the Cowboys in the early 90s had done that. Could they, toward the end, win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years? There's your storyline going in against an underrated, growing before everyone else's eyes, not on their own, Philadelphia Eagles team that said, oh, you don't give us any respect? Well, we'll show you Atlanta, and then we'll show you Minnesota, and then we'll show you New England. And in a game so hot, it took temperatures that were below 0 here in Minneapolis and turned it into springtime. Here we go. If you missed some of Gatorade, the Rocky statue, the Lombardi Trophy, hoisted by the Philadelphia Eagles.
They slayed the dragon. I mean, it's amazing to beat this Patriot team. It feels like you have to beat them 3 times, and they did it. They continuously played and made the big plays at the end. Every big play they had to make. In the last few championship games, Jacksonville couldn't do it in the championship game. Last Super Bowl, the Falcons couldn't do it. The Eagles did it, Boomer. And you got to just hand it to them and say one of the great championship efforts. It was just one of the best.
373 for Foles. Tom Brady, first quarterback in any postseason game to throw for 500. But they lost. The Philadelphia Eagles, 41. The Patriots, 33 by 1 point. Almost the highest scoring Super Bowl. Steve was in the one that was the highest, 49-20.
Wasn't like
Lane
this one.
Johnson, Philadelphia Eagles. No need to wear the dog mask today, right? Congratulations.
Thanks, yeah, it's going to be madness. I can't even imagine what the parade is going to be like, so stay tuned
It's
for
already
that.
started. You better get there. So Nick Foles, in huddle, did you know very early, not to say that you doubted, did you know early in this game, by his demeanor, he's on it again?
Yeah, he's the guy who doesn't really get riled up. He stays poised, doesn't matter what game it is. And, I could really tell after the first couple drives that he was going to be in the zone and couldn't come through on a bigger stage. And I'm just so happy for him. Just a guy that's battled, was in Philadelphia, went a few places else and then came back and won us the Super Bowl, man. So I'm so proud of him.
There's your home city right there.
Oh, my
So
Lord.
the game's only been over a half an hour.
Be safe. Be safe, Philly. Please, be safe.
Please.
Well, I got to ask you, Lane, a lot of people were counting you out. You lost Peters, and then you lost arguably the MVP of this year's league. Take me through the mindset of this underdog and take us through how the team was feeling that y'all could go ahead and just run this table like y'all did tonight.
Yeah, I just think, as soon as Carson went down, the human mindset is automatically be negative. But I knew from the very beginning of OTAs how much depth we had, with Nick, with Big V at left tackle, guys at linebacker. So I knew we had depth, and just really, I know it sounds cliche, but just we're such good friends off the field. I mean, I know how,
You build your camaraderie.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking
exactly.
about.
So when you get that bond, it's so much easier to play with each other when you get on the field.
It was pretty clear that Coach Peterson was not going to protect Nick Foles, and just the opposite. It felt like he was going to open up the playbook from the first play. I'm going to be aggressive. Did he talk to you guys about how he's going to call plays, or does that kind of surprise you how open and wide open?
No, he told us last night in the team meeting. I want to keep being aggressive. I'm not going to change for anybody. So and that's what showed. You ran the ball effectively, able to open up some play action, had some deep bombs downfield. So really just came together. It's really one of our best offensive games.
It seemed like the Patriots were bringing a lot of 5-man rushes, trying to put a little pressure on, and no one touched Nick. I mean, you guys did a superior job.
Yeah, they do a good job of, rushing, but a lot of times they'll do green dogs where they'll fake and try to get you peeking, and we stayed on our cues and got it done. So it was hard fought all the way to the end, I promise you that.
Was there anything that happened this week that kept the team loose? You're loose anyway. You're underdog again. It's perfect. Was there anything said? You said what Coach Peterson said last night, Lane. How did the team, you just stayed on the same keel you were at that you wrecked Minnesota with?
Just let your personality show. Instead of dreading the moment, embrace this moment. You never know if you're going to be here again. So that was kind of our mindset. We wanted to have fun whenever we could. Whenever practice came, hey, it was live. That's really what it was. So I think there was a good balance in there. And when it came time to play tonight, I felt like we were in a good rhythm, good confidence, and it showed.
Well, I was just looking here at the stats. Y'all had 164 yards rushing tonight. Talk about what you saw within 2 weeks of preparation of how y'all could get that run game going. Yeah, y'all got some outside runs going with LeGarrette, Ajayi. Then y'all was able to get some in between the guards. So take us through the last 2 weeks of how y'all thought y'all could get y'all's running game going on New England, no matter where y'all were on the field.
Yeah, I think as far as talent-wise, this is probably the most talented line that I've ever been on. So, next to Big Baller Brand Brooks, that's what I like to call him. Kelsey, who's, you've seen the guy in space, can obviously run. Wiz is like another coach on the field, helping Big V adjust. And as far as what we saw, we knew, like, far as most talented, they want the most talented team, but what they do is they wait for you to make mistakes and really hurt yourself. And we didn't allow them to do that tonight. Maintain focus, and that's really what it was about.
Lane, how does this sound? World champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Feels good. I think, it'll take a few days to set in, maybe get back to Philadelphia and kind of see what it's like, but I'm happy for tonight.
I don't think they're shocked.
They're not shocked.
They're not shocked.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Really nice of you to come over and join us.
Yes. Thank you.
Cheesesteaks for everybody. We got plenty. We'll hear from the quarterbacks. We'll hear from plenty of the Eagles. We'll hear from both teams. We got more. He joins them with the Giants when they beat the Bills as quarterbacks that started 3 or less times for that team during the season, but ended up winning the Super Bowl. 52 Super Bowls. We've seen it 3 times. Tonight was Nick Foles, which we talked about. And so is it, look, this is a man that has thrown, Steve, 7 touchdown passes in a game in the NFL. It's not an unknown, yet people were, because it was Tom Brady, boy, he can't.
Well, I mean, the seeds of this were sown last offseason when the only coach that went down to see Nick Foles after he got cut by the Chiefs was Doug Peterson. And Doug told him, look, you were with me in Philly. We had a good thing going. We went to Kansas City, didn't go so well, but I believe in you. And I want you to come up and help my young quarterback. And if he gets hurt, I believe that you can do the job. And so there's a faith-based kind of relationship where they say, I know you'll take care of me. I'll take care of you. You take care of me kind of thing. And I think in the Super Bowl, in the ultimate stage, Nick had the confidence that he had that Doug Peterson and the whole team in the organization believed in Nick. You can't understand what it feels like to be in a locker room when everyone's kind of peeking at you. Are you really that guy? I don't know if you can do it. But a head coach and everybody says, not only can he do it, I'm going to put it in his lap. And then he responds. Everybody can grow from there. So I wonder, what's the future of Nick Foles? How many teams want a guy like this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you tell me he's not one of the top 32, top 15 quarterbacks in the league? This is an interesting thing for Nick Foles to go back to a backup, but one of the all-time performances by a backup, of course, but just by a starter to face the guy of the century, the guy that can't be beat. You got to beat 4 times to knock him down. To take him down like Goliath, and he made every throw, Randy, every time. He dropped in dimes all over the field, and it seemed like Doug Peterson said, well, let's go.
Keep going.
You cannot ask for more. There's no superlative that can describe, in my mind, what Nick Foles did tonight.
Just everything that you just talked about, man, I was just sitting here thinking, there's just one word to just describe what Nick Foles has been through. Just an underdog. I don't know if he got thrown out of Philly I don't know how he left Philly, but he got thrown out of Philly. The good thing about it, he came back to Philly. Talking about Peterson came to get him, brought him to his team, lost his starting quarterback that they drafted to lead this franchise to a Super Bowl, came back to Philadelphia. I don't know how the city of brotherly love felt about Nick Foles when he came back, but I guess what? I bet they loving him right now. You hear me, Boom?
It's the Philadelphia story, which once upon a time was a big thing as well. So
right.
the